Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for a tale. Not sure if you could say it's going to be tall, but it'd probably be long and pointless and full of meanders. You say, is it a tall tale? I say it's more like a swirly, one of those curly, what do they call them, swirly straws or curly straws? If they don't call them swirly straws, they really missed out. I would assume they do, because your drink swirls through them. My tall tales are swirly and whirly, and for some, they feel churly after listening, but it's time for Sleep With Me. Hopefully you won't feel that way. Also, FMI, for my information. Is churly a word? I mean, I felt churlish many a times, so oh boy. Even if it's not a word, I hope it's like, I feel like there's about 33% of the time I've got a churl going on. And when they see me walking down the street, they say, there's a churl in that boy's step. Anyway, it's time for Sleep With Me podcast. It puts you to sleep. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive. Have you tried the Name Your Price tool yet? It works just the way it sounds. You tell Progressive how much you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll show you coverage options that fit your budget. It's easy to start a quote, and you'll be able to find a rate that works for you. It's just one of the many ways you could save with Progressive. Get your quote today at Progressive.com and see why 4 out of 5 new auto customers recommend Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Hey, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, BetterHelp. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy, and we talk about BetterHelp a lot on this show, and this month we're discussing some of the stigmas around mental health. For example, some people think they should wait until things are almost unbearable to go to therapy, but that isn't true. Therapy is a tool to utilize before things get worse, and it can help you avoid those lows. A lot of times culturally we've been taught that mental health shouldn't be a part of normal life, and that's wrong. We take care of our bodies at the gym, we go to the doctor, people focus on their nutrition, and we should be focusing on our minds and our emotional well-being just as much. I go to therapy every single week. I've recommended this sponsor to people in my personal life. It has not been an easy few years, and one of the things about therapy is it helps you make things manageable, but then it can get you to a place where you could flourish. And either one of those has an amazing positive impact on your own well-being, but the well-being of everyone you come in contact with. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. And give it a try and see why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp Online Therapy. And Sleep With Me listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/sleepwithme. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/sleepwithme. BetterHelp.com/sleepwithme. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it is time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone, the one part of the podcast I need you to hear. It's where I pop my peas, if you please. I thank the listeners who supported the sponsors. That's how we're able to be here for you for free twice a week, is the listeners who supported the sponsors, shared about it, amplified their support. That's where we went from 200 episodes in the free feed to over 400 because of people that took action, just like you. So I really appreciate it. I'm looking for supporters right now. So if you supported a sponsor, even a free trial, we got tons of free trials right now. Check it out, test out a sponsor, and then let me know about it. Let them know about it. Say, hey, I started your free trial because I heard about you on Sleep With Me. It's a huge help for the show, and that's why more and more episodes of Sleep With Me to listen to. So that's the first part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone. The second part is you getting the support you need. If you're having a tough time right now, there's links to resources in the show notes that you could connect with right now. And it's about being a part of of our communities and saying Black Lives Matter, saying stop AAPI hate with our actions, being a part of positive change. There's links to resources in our show notes you can connect with right now to learn more, to do more. And the last part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is organizations you support or that support you throughout the next year. That's what I'm looking to get involved with, to learn more, is what organizations helped you on your journey or you're actively supporting or part of. Let me know about it so I can check them out. You can do all that on our website, sleepwithmepodcast.com. Use the contact form, use our sponsor page, and that's it. What do you say? Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Poster son sounds like a near fall. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the mystery bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. What do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake. It could be thoughts, things on your mind from the past, the present, or the future, plans, or, memory, whatever it is. It could be thoughts. It could be feelings, like emotions related to the thoughts or emotions that are just there. It could be physical sensations. It could be changes in your routine, your temperature, your time, whatever's going on. I mean, there's so many things that I've heard from listeners. And it all shares a lot of things. So let me just go off script here. The reason I make the show is because you deserve a good night's sleep. And ideally, if I can do anything for you, it's to underline that fact, but also to help you feel less alone. Even though this is digital and it's a podcast, I'm here to keep you company. Because if you can't get to sleep, at least you deserve to kind of feel like you have a friendly voice in the deep, dark night. So now I got mixed up because I normally don't go. I went off script. I don't have an actual script. Whatever's keeping you awake, thoughts, feelings, whatever it is, I'm going to try to take your mind off of that and keep you company. Oh, I guess it was just a different way of saying what I already say. Keep you company while you drift off. And that's really what my job is, to be your boar friend, your boar bae, your boar cuz, your boar sib, your boar bestie, your boar your neighbor. I got that mixed up. Some listeners said, hey, what about neighbor? And I said, oh, Borber? And they said, we knew that's what you meant, Scoots. Then thank you. Okay, but whatever is keeping you awake, I'd like to take your mind off that. What I propose to do here is to create a safe place, or a safe that feels safe, an approachable safe. One of the great, I tried to pitch that to, I said, what about new Marpbel? How does that sound to you? And they said, we don't have the rights to that. And I said, the new Marpbel mysteries, we could just use that word. And they said, no, you can't. And I said, the case of the approachable safe, a new Marpbel mystery. And they said, Scoots, one, wait a second. And they said, we never took this call. There's no record. And then they said the call's coming from inside your imagination. Once again, Scoots. A new Marple mystery. The case of the approachable safe. It was early morning when the great safe store of, wherever we're going to be in the Lakelands area. The main safe store for all regions nearby, where everybody got their safe, was having a big event called the Approachable Safe event. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to be creating so I'm going to try to create a safe place or an approachable place. So you say, well, I kind of feel safe. I'm not so sure about it. And that's why they said, step right in. I don't know, whoever runs the safe, the case of the approachable safe. I guess we'll do, that will be the title of tonight's episode. Let's just do that so I can move on, right? What was the other thing I got stuck on? That's one of the things that happens in this. People say, what are you? And I say, yeah, not only do I get mixed up, I get bogged down in my own thoughts. My thoughts are like bog-like already. And then I say, there's boggy thoughts in this here bog. Anyway, so I'm going to try to create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake by sending my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones. If there was the comforting bog, another, that's where the new Marple mysteries. She lives out on the end of a lane near the comforting bog. That's what she calls it. That's where she does her thinking. And, now she's known as Lady Marple, not Miss Marple, because, she's, royalty or whatever, OBE, or I don't know how any of that works, but. So you don't say old Lady Marple because only Scoot says that. And then she says, no, Lady Marple. And I say, yes, Miss Marple, I'll call you Lady Marple until I forget. But when I'm narrating you thinking out on the, the comforting bog, is that what it was called? Okay. So anyway, what are we talking about here? Send my voice. Oh, creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. You've witnessed all of those in just a few moments. In just 8 short minutes of intro, I went way off topic and got mixed up because I'm here to keep you company and put you to sleep, not entertain you or engage you or make any sense or get to the point or ever really get started. So if you're new, a couple things you might want to know. This podcast is very different. It's very strange. So if you feel a reaction to it, it does take some getting used to. And of course, you might be doubtful or skeptical when you get to this podcast because you probably tried a lot of other stuff to put you to sleep, right? And maybe not all of that worked. Maybe none of it worked. So I'm here to try to keep you company while you fall asleep. So this is a podcast you don't really listen to. You just kind of barely pay attention to it, but you can listen. So it's kind of just takes getting used to doing that. It's like looking at the clouds when you feel like it. I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it because the podcast doesn't even make any sense to me because my job's not to make any sense. So it's a podcast you just barely listen to that's here to keep you company. It also doesn't put you to sleep. It's here while you fall asleep. I'm here to take your mind off of stuff and be your friend. Like I said, your companion, so that it doesn't feel as lonely as it's felt for some of us in the deep, dark night. The good news is if you can't sleep, I'll be here for an hour to keep you company, whether you're awake or asleep. So if you're not listening to me, I'm here to keep you company. But if you are, I'm here to keep you company. So no pressure to fall asleep and no pressure to listen. I make the show because I know how it feels and you deserve a good night's sleep. Our world will be a better place if you get the rest you need and you deserve. Because I want your life to be better. You deserve it. So that's why I make the show. Also, for new listeners, what up, regular listeners? How about that? We just invented I guess like I'll say, I don't think Lady Marple, the new Lady Marple Mysteries is, because they say, no, it doesn't have anything to do with Miss Marple. This is Lady Marple, and it's new. When they approach me, not with an offer, they say, this is not an offer to do business with you. And I'd say, well, well, you don't think that's a good idea? The case of the approachable safe? It's a very approachable mystery. Never gets, here's a spoiler, never gets solved. Structure of the show throws people off. So if you're new, I want you to know the structure of the show is very intentional, but I understand if it throws you off. It starts off with a greeting so you feel seen and welcome. Then there's listener support, like support for you. Then there's support for the show via Patreon and our sponsors. Then there's the intro, which goes on and on and on. Some people think it's part of the business or the housekeeping. It's not. It's a show within a show that gives you time to wind down. It's familiar every time, and it's different every time. And it gives you a chance to get some distance from the daytime and get ready for bed. So whether it's part of your bedtime routine and you're winding down, or, you're doing brushing your teeth, or you're in bed, you're petting your pets, or you're doing some other chill activity. The intro, you could fall asleep to it. There's a percentage of listeners that fall asleep. There's a percentage of listeners that skip the show. But the intentionality behind it is that it gives you a chance to wind down. So, but you can use it. The great thing about the podcast is it's flexible. People use it in all sorts of different ways. So that's the intro. Then there's business. Again, the business keeps the show free, coming out twice a week, which has always been my goal, to keep it free, not as part of some company. Then there's a story. I thought it was going to be one thing tonight. I guess it'll be some sort of investigation, at least, into whatever I just said. The case of the soothing spa. I don't think it was that one. That one won't be solved because I say there's no spa that could soothe me unless I can walk around, and unless it's like a spa, a pacing-based spa. A spa you can pace in. Scooter spa. Come around, come on in, walk, don't sit still. The spa where you don't sit still. Way off topic. So, so there's a bedtime story that you could fall asleep to, but other people listen to it, for companionship in the deep, dark night, or a break during the day, or if you just can't sleep, you got plenty of time. That'll go on for like 40, 50 minutes, an hour plus. Then there's thank yous at the end of the show. So that's a structured show. That's why I make the show. And all I can say is I'm glad you're here. I work really hard. I yearn and I strive. Give the show a couple of tries and see if it helps. If not, there's other sleep podcasts and stuff at sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. But I'm happy you're here, and I really hope I can help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to be here for you for free twice a week. All right, everybody, it is time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Headspace. And I don't know if you ever feel like this, like your mind will not quiet down, right? Or the tension that comes with thoughts, or that's just in your body. Or how about when you feel tired during the day, even though you're like, wait a second, I got a good night's sleep. I don't know what's going on. Those are just a few ways that stress, anxiety, and sleeplessness can impact your mind and your body. So this year, why not make small changes to your daily routine that are going to have a big influence on your mental health and your well-being? So why don't you start your year with Headspace? And we all say fine when we don't mean it. And fine, that's not really an emotion, is it? How many times have you told yourself you're fine when what you really felt was anger or sadness or something else building up? Headspace is scientifically proven to help you manage your feelings feelings and your mental health. In fact, a recent study proved in just 2 weeks, Headspace can reduce your stress by 14%. Whether you want to relieve stress and anxiety, sleep better, or improve your focus, Headspace is your everyday dose of mindfulness for real life. I use Headspace every single day. I love the Headspace courses. I love the daily meditations, but I would recommend starting out right at the top, starting out with acceptance. It's an amazing course, and it really helped me deal with resistance and accepting where I'm at. And one of the other things I love about the course, I've taken it over and over again because you can take it with Andy, you could take it with Eve, and you could take it with Dora. So however you're feeling, try Headspace at headspace.com/sleepwithme, and you'll get 1 month free. That's free of their entire mindfulness library. That's the best Headspace offer available. Go to headspace.com/sleepwithme. That's one word, sleep with me today. Headspace.com/sleepwithme. Hey, I don't know if your mind is like mine, where it feels like it's been sprinting for years on end, and behind it, it leaves a trail of stress, anxiety, and fatigue that leave me at times feeling like my mental health has eroded. I don't know if you're nodding along, yes, but think about that it's maybe time for you to adopt small daily practices that are going to have a huge impact on your long-term happiness and well-being. And when I say well-being, I mean it. These daily practice that I have in the morning, in the evening, in the middle of the day, meditating, being mindful, using Headspace. It's all easy to learn with Headspace. This has to go on both, Drew. Carl, can you leave that in as a reminder to me? Thanks. All right, everybody, it is time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Audible. Now, Audible members get access to the latest bestsellers, buzziest new releases, the hottest celebrity memoirs, or even that bucket list title you've been meaning to pick up. And those titles are yours to keep forever in your Audible library. They also have a new Plus catalog, which makes Audible membership so much more valuable. It gives members a chance to listen to and discover new favorites in new formats, like the exclusive Words Plus Music series, or a podcast you never even considered before. You can always find the perfect title for whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, or however you're feeling, whether it's comedy, romance, suspense, true crime, science fiction, fitness, wellness. You could even squeeze in a workout or a guided meditation without having to go to a gym or a class. With everything you love to listen to all in one app, Audible is your playlist for life. And oh boy, The Book of Phoenix is a book I loved in the past year. Holy cow. It's The Book of Phoenix by Nnedi Okorafor, and they have 2 narrator versions, Robin Miles and Patricia Rodriguez. So you get to choose even, or you could do both. An amazing book. Holy mackerel. The characters and the images are still sitting right here. I can feel it right now. So check it out. The Book of Phoenix by Nnedi Okorafor. And here, how about we make it even sweeter? New members, you can always try Audible for 30 days on us. So visit audible.com/sleepwithme or text sleep with me to 500-500. And you could listen now only from Audible, but you got to go to audible.com/sleepwithme. That's AUDIBLE.com/sleepwithme or text sleep with me to 500-500. And don't forget, new members can always try Audible for 30 days on us. So check it out and listen now, only from Audible. All right, everybody, you're in for a treat tonight because we're telling another story that I knew about and then I forgot about, but now I can never forget about it. It's called The Case of the Approachable Safe. It's from a collection of stories, untold tales. Somewhere in my imagination, these stories are being told, and every once in a while I catch a whisper, and then I go back and I say, wait, tell me more. Is this one of those Lady Marple mysteries? And they say, Scoots, that's not a good idea. And I say, well, it's a possibility, though, that somewhere out on a bog, a comforting bog, lives Lady Marple. And she, like she was once like a regular like person, Miss Marple or Mrs. Marple or Ms. Marple or Marple is, she preferred, just call me Marple. And she lives out on, and I say, when I say Lady Marple, I always think of, I think it was, I don't know if I always think that I can't remember when, like, there was the G.I. Joe toys I played with as a lad. They were action figures or action figurines. The G.I. Joe characters were known. I think one of the advancements they had was, the comedian said this, but I think it was true, that they had a kung fu grip, which meant that so they had, oh man, now I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Reticulated, is that what it is? They had elbows and knees and hip joints and shoulder joints. But then at some point they also became able to rotate their arms below the elbow. And that was a pretty big advancement. And they also had like a neck joint so their necks could move, their heads could move around. Like, when you talk about toys, not to say, Lady Marple's like, excuse me, I thought this was the case of the missing safe. And I said, yeah, we'll get there. But I was thinking of Lady J or Lady Jane, who was one of the top 3. So when I played with G.I. Joes, there was no G.I. Joe. I think the earlier generation, there was a G.I. Joe character. So G.I. Joe was a brand, and I think it was like a super secret. Scoots, doesn't that stand for everything you stand against at this point? I say, well, pretty much. But they were great heroes and heroines. Lady J, I don't know. I think it was like Duke, Lady J, and somebody else, Griswold, maybe. I don't know who the third person was, who were kind of running the show. I was never, I guess as a kid, like I said, I would root for the other team because they were always the underdogs. And I think it probably informed an entire generation of storytelling or storytellers that played with toys, because it was a bit of a trope back then in the 80s that the futility of the villains. Because the 80s were an era, oh boy, were they an era when villainy was not considered, even though they had Gordon Gekko. I don't know, there's a lot of repression going on, and part of that repression was saying, well, we're going to have the childhood hero, the childhood cartoons only villainy is futility. And don't know what my point was, other than Lady J or Lady Jane was one of them. But I don't think she was like a royalty. All that to say, I've gone royally off topic. So let's get back to the point at hand, which is that, where were we? Okay, so Lady Marple, nothing to do, you say, Scoots, I've heard of Marples before. Is this anything like the more famous Marple? And I say, no, this is Lady Marple. She was granted the order, whatever order is bestowed on you to be a lady by the queen. But she was still solving cases, as I teased in the opening of the show. And she lived out on a bog. And she had a porch, a back porch that looked out on the bog where she would sit at night. It actually had, what do you call that, a little silk screen or silk netting around the porch so she could sit out there and not have to worry about the bog-based beings coming and bothering her. That was one of the first cases she solved, the case of the bog-based beings that got on my nerves when I decided to live at a bog. The Lady Marple story, part 44. That was a part of her biography series, not a case, not a case we're discussing. because it was pretty easily solved. Well, it wasn't easily solved. She tried other stuff. Fans was one of the things she tried. Low-powered and high-powered fans to blow away any. And she said that kind of worked, but it also got on my nerves and used energy and wasn't 100% not as effective as other things. And she said, this works great because I can see the bog and I can hear the bog. I can soak it in. And it has like a doorway in there. I think that zips up so she can go out towards the bog, if she wants to. But this is also her back porch. A little bit more rustic than what you would what they call in Florida a lanai, which is different, I think, than other places in the world. Like when I hear lanai, I think of I think of the ocean in Hawaii and just a beautiful view. It could be of the mountains. But in Florida, lanai is like a screened in, like an outdoors, indoors, more or less. Or I guess it's a confused space. It is, and for a multitude of reasons, because one, it's kind of outdoors, it's kind of indoors. It has screens, so you can see stuff, but then with the temperature in Florida, you're like, well, I could just go outside, or I'm going to go inside where the AC is. Normally, lanai won't have AC unless then it also has windows, and then you're like, well, this is just a porch now. I think that's what we call them, a screened-in porch. Now, Lady Marpbels' porch is not screened in. It's kind of under a net. I don't know. Tough to say, but very inventive and fits the mystique or whatever you want to say. Fits the space very nicely. And that's where Lady Marpbel would like to sit. Like she liked to think. She liked to have her tea. She drank tea and coffee. She'd have tea between waking up and 10:45, coffee. 10:45 to 2 p.m., tea. After 2 p.m., other stuff till about 8 o'clock, herbal tea. With, non-caffeinated. And sometimes she would make sun tea, and actually she could make it on the porch because it was because of the netting or the screening. The sun could still get there. And that was one of her favorite things. She had a western-facing view of the bog, so she could sit there. And she would tell her guests that, they never necessarily, she'd say, you haven't seen the sun set till you've seen it set over a bog. But they would normally, be distracted. Very few people can be enthralled by a bog, and it's a good test. And I could tell you, you haven't been enthralled till you've been enthralled by a bog. Because you could sit out there, you can listen to the bog, and then Lady Marpbel would say, the sounds change as the sun sets on a bog. And she even would break into song sometimes, doing a little Elton John. I think that because Elton John probably has a song that she could easily change to and put in words like when the sun sets on a bog. I think you'd probably have to say when the sun goes down on a bog or something. But not many people appreciate it because they think of there are times at the ocean or the lake or some other area overhyped, that doesn't get the love of a bog. Understandably, because you can't really swim in a bog. And a lot of people associate bogs and bugs, but in this case, the best of both worlds when you're with Lady Marpbel, because she solved that case. But she was sitting out there, and one of the things she liked to do is just relax. And she also found another thing soothing, which was like a giant gumball machine. And she not only found it soothing. Well, one of the reasons she found it soothing is her guests could get a gumball. And she would always do a slow burn where she would give them a coin when they arrived. And she'd always say, hold on to this for me. Particularly if there was children or if there was adults, particularly if there was someone who might be labeled persnickety. Is that the right word? She would hand them a coin and say, oh, by the way, hold on to this for me. And if they said more, she said, well, we're going to need it later, maybe. And she would take them out. Eventually they would make their way at some point to her treasured area. Unless, they were a guest that was guest focused. And they say, no, I'm not interested in your home. I'm interested in being a guest in your home. But normally they would work their way out there. And it was a beautiful gumball machine. And at first glance, most people wouldn't notice it because they say, you seen one, I don't think many people have said this, but it is assumption you make that you're just not even aware of. You say, if I've seen one gumball machine, I've seen them all. And I say, well, that's probably totally impossible. But it's like, Malcolm Gladwell had a chapter about it in one of his books. Wink, I think, was the one that said, yeah, it's called the gumball machine paradox or something, where you say, okay, you just assume they're all like, they're all different, but you don't, you say, well, I don't have time. Well, if I need some gum, I got a pack in my pocket now. Modern era of convenience. And then you may say, Scoots, no, I can picture and I say, well, yeah, that's your archetypal gumball machine in your mind. I can see it too. It's got that metal stuff. It's got some glass stuff, probably some metal, on the top. Maybe it's got a stand or, dare I say, a shaft to the floor. And maybe it's like a little antique looking. Maybe you picture more something in a globe-like shape. And you say, okay, now, Lady Marpbels, hers was a little bit more not grand, I was going to say grandiose, but it kind of was, it was glass, and it was the size of one of those big water bottles, like back when people would talk about stuff around the water cooler at the office, but it was a little bit higher off the ground. And one of her secrets was that the glass, in its thickness and the setting of the sun, it was all complementary to one another. And it did go down into something very similar, but a little bit more color than just a red or a blue. You had some yellows into a familiar gumball machine with the thing where you put the coin in and you twist it, and then some gumball comes out. Now, another little thing about Lady Marple was there's just not one size gumball. One size gumball does not fit all. And she would choose her gumballs very wisely and with a lot of decision. She was what you would say is a gumball connoisseur because she had traveled the world and learned what parts of the world have gumballs, what don't, and where gumball manufacturing takes place. And, something that they haven't heard of in Brooklyn or Oakland as of the time I'm recording this, bespoke gumballs. Somewhere in the world they're making them, whether it's Notting Hill or like a cool part of Singapore. They say, Scoots, please don't, and I say, okay, well, one day, I'm a little bit behind that, but she knew where there was bespoke gumballs. She didn't really make her own gumballs because she preferred to support gumball artisans, as well as mass manufactured gumballs. She actually knew a lot about the process, and she and color was a big part of it. And she would actually curate her own gumball machine from time to time. But she also found it soothing. And, did I mention she used different sized gumballs in there? And occasionally she'd say, well, I'm feeling something. She'd go online if needed. Or she'd call, like she'd hop on the old air horn or whatever they call it. And she'd say, you got anything in a chicle shape, but I'm looking for something not quite aquamarine. And they'd say, Lady Marple, she said, put it on the Marple account, stat, or don't, send it out, but just, make sure to send it properly. But yeah, she could curate her gumball machine. She would use, now she was very conscientious about, so she would put on gloves, rubber gloves or latex-free gloves. I'm not sure because I wasn't, I don't know. I was never there when she was curating or organizing. She didn't really call it organizing, working on the gumball machine. I mean, some people knit, in one of her dreams that was never realized, and she was a big fan of the Tate Modern, and she was actually setting aside funds, and maybe she still is. I don't know why I'm talking about it in the past tense, but I guess because I don't have the same hope in my heart that Lady Marple does. But she did hold a dream of having a giant, she thought it would be better as an overturned water bottle, but, something, probably 8 stories wide, 30 stories tall, glass, something to do, another artisan, not her, and then filled with gumball, art as gumballs and actual gumballs, of course, so that at some point, or multiple points, you could get a gumball from the gumball machine. So she said, oh yeah, then maybe some people could do something similar to sand art with gumballs. And then they could present it, and then we see as it changes, she said, then the art will change as people chew gum. And then maybe there's even a wall of chewed gum before, because they said, don't come in this museum. Or please don't spit your gum. That's one thing I always wonder about in New York City when I lived there, when I visit there. And I always say, am I wrong, or is that gum on the subway? Especially coming out of the platforms, into the streets. But sometimes on the subway platforms, they say, is that gum on the, 40-year-old gum there? Or is it something else? And I said, well, boy, if it's not gum, please don't tell me unless it's tar. But I say, what is that? I mean, again, you could trace back, like I say, when did people start, what generation was like, yeah, just spit it on the ground, man. And you say, okay, you realize it's inconvenient for you to hold your gum and spit it in a garbage can, or at least stick it underneath something like they do nowadays. But you're going to take something that's extremely sticky, you're just going to spit it on the ground and assume it never impacts you, or if someone else behaves, they say that's, someone should write man, once again, I need an anthropologist over here. So, well, all I could say is the Lady Marple loved it, not all the time, but that was one of her hobbies, she called it gumballing with no G. And so if someone from her family called, they said, what are you doing? She said, I'm gumballing, just gumballing around. And they say, you and that, they say, Nana Marple, you and that gumball machine. And they say, what are you working? She said, well, I'm just greasing it right now, making sure, doing the annual maintenance. But sometimes she would reorganize it, and then but she liked to just look at it. That was one of the things. Not she just turned in, and we all have those things. We forget about them. That you just look at and you say, huh, that's nice. I like how I feel when I just stare at this with an empty mind. or staring at that empties my mind. I would propose to say, do you think we could, Lady Marple, what do you say about having someone from the Roy G. Biv Institute weigh in on your gumball machine? And she would say, what's the Roy G. Biv Institute? I said, well, it's an institute I invented, or Roy G. Biv Labs. We could also call it that. But that would give accreditation to Christmas and holiday lights. They'd say, these are Roy G. Biv approved. And she said, well, what would that mean? I said, well, we'll work on that. I said, but you say these lights are Roy G. Biv accredited. And I said, maybe it means, I said, we'll have to get into color theory probably, or it could just be a nonsense thing that we're using. But I say, wow, is that a Roy G. Biv approved gumball machine? And you would say, not just a gumball machine, those are Roy G. Biv accredited gumballs in there. I say, are those bespoke? And so she liked looking at it. She also liked the surprise of the guests to see. And this was the thing. This is the thing about sleuths that nobody talks about, especially sleuths with a big heart like Lady Marple. You don't become a lady just because you solve the greatest cases in the history of England, or because you were associated with another Marple, and they said, oh, and you just said, well, if you want to make me a lady, that's fine. No, I'm not that Marple, but I have done a lot, and one day, hopefully I'll have a giant gumball receptacle outside the Tate Modern and a wall for chewing gum before people go into the museum. And part of the art would be someone doing a mouth scan. That would be somewhat performative in some way, and maybe even a spitting area as part of it. But so, oh boy, where was I? Lady Marple. So one thing about sleuths with big hearts, like Lady Marple, is they love sleuthing for the next great sleuth. Like, you got the Stiltons. I don't know who came first, Thea or Geronimo Stilton, but those two are, I don't know. And, I'm sure Fancy Nancy found, someone. So she was always on the lookout for someone, particularly someone like her, like a young woman with a spark in her eye, but a weary step. Sometimes those two things come in common, she would say occasionally. And she, it didn't have to be someone. It could be someone else. It could be, one of her friends, or someone. She was always open to being surprised, too, by who would sleuth out what the coin was for. Or who was just naive enough and childlike enough to say, oh, how much are these gumballs? And she would just laugh and say, well, why don't you use that coin in your pocket? Where other people say, is this what the coin was for? And if you use the coin she gave you, of course, there would be a special gumball along with a regular gumball, so there's another door where the special gumball would come out, and it would make a clanging noise. But definitely because she put so much a variety of gumballs in that gumball machine, you'd have to keep your hands under there. Otherwise, it was a pretty heavy door. But sometimes she would put like sprinkle-sized gumball, I don't know if those were gumballs. I don't know what they're called, tiny gumballs. That was another song she would like to sing, though, to people, based on the Don Ho song, Tiny Bubbles. She'd sing Tiny Gumballs. So, so she would love that when people thought of it, but otherwise she'd say, she'd wait for people to mention it. And now, I know some of you are even asking yourself, were there other coin-operated machines in Lady Marple's abode? And I'd say quite possibly. But this kind of leads us into the great case of the approachable safe, and I just added that grade in there to underline the fact that every case that Lady Marpbels on is a great case. But yeah, once upon a time, not that far from where Lady Marpbel was chilling out, and kicking at the bog, gumballing around. There was a town, and it was not that far away, and it was the main. It had the big, that's one thing that has been impacted but not gone away is the safe business, and I'm talking about safes, SF, safe and face, spelled this SAFE. Because, you can buy some of that stuff online. Some of them are really heavy. It tends to be a specialized business. And there's also older ones, that might need, or some people want a, refurbished one. But the thing is also that people forget. Now, this particular safe place it was known as Patience Safes. And it was run by someone named Patience, but they also had a sign out front that said "Safes, Safes, Safe." So it was really, most people knew it as safes, triple safes, or triple safe, or safe, 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 or for shorthand, safes, because you say it 3 times, or you could just say it once with an S, and people would know in this area. If they knew about safes in the safe business, they'd know about safes. And they had an online presence, but don't bother because, this was years ago. So they don't anymore. And you say, well, I don't find it. And I say, yeah, that's right. This is a story that hasn't been told yet, so it wouldn't be online now that you're listening to it via online. But this just wasn't one business, Patience had multi-businesses, new safes, refurbished safes, buying safes and selling them. So you find a safe, because this region had, it was like it had enough of a metropolitan region in enough of, different generations that people would find old safes and they'd say, hey, this is that. They also pioneered some landmark laws about opening safes, and, actually that was one of their big online things was explaining the legalities of safes and safes. It was, just to explain you the basics, because, I wouldn't know what to do. You say, find a safe, does that mean you can open it? Well, then what if you can't get it open? And what happens, approving the, custodial, the whatever, stewardship of safes. I think that was one of the blog posts. So that's the place known as safes. And so not only did they have kind of a multi-level business and they were known around the greater region, and then people in the business, they'd say, okay, well, you're between London and Manchester. Okay, well, safes is the only place to go. Go talk to Patience. You see, otherwise, you got these others too, but other businesses you could consult, and they all had their own specialties. So they would also work together, to stay relevant. But staying relevant's more than just being good at your job and training people so they could be good at their jobs in the future. It's being a part of the community. So Safes was part of the local community. They had Tumblers for Tumbles, which was a big festival they had every year. They had Singing to the Safes Fest. And again, this is kind of in one of those idyllic situations, with a green, a central green and safes in some of the other, pubs, restaurants. They were facing it. Now, one of the advantages patients had was patients did own the building and was able to, it was it was a building big enough for two, two businesses. So you say, okay, well, that's one thing that advantage patients had. Because you say, well, what happened to those other safe businesses? They'd say, well, that was one thing. It's the real estate prices, impinged on market, their margins, where patients, that building was paid off. And normally, whatever, we don't want to get into the specifics of it, but they had a couple yearly festivals. They were part of the community. And all that, they would have conductors, they would have all that kind of stuff. And then, as the years got on, as we went from the aughts to whatever they're going to call the after the aughts, the business, was getting thinner and thinner, but it didn't stop that one, safes exist and locksmiths and all that kind of stuff. And that people are going to still need safes from time to time, a variety of safes, and that there's older safes and there's that whole thing. And, maybe you want to see if you could get the safe open, if that's allowed. Maybe you want to sell the safe. You say, I got this safe. Is it worth anything? It's really friggin' heavy. But it wasn't quite big enough because patients said, okay, well, as they start to look at the safe business and the kind of, I would decline's the wrong word, but the narrowing of it and the people in the safe business, other than Big Safe, that's what they called the big safe companies. But they needed one another anyway. Patients said, we got to get the word out. We got to keep every few years, we got to do something big to raise overall general awareness in safes. Because really you got the movies, heist movies and stuff like that. And other than that, like it used to be, kids were raised, with cartoons, they saw safes all the time. So they were used to seeing safes in other places other than heist movies or in behind paintings in billionaire and super spy things. So they said, if you raise the awareness of safes, then, every few years, then somebody's going to be like, what was the name? I just found that safe in that attic there, or lockbox or whatever. I can't get it open. I don't know what to do. Well, you could go on YouTube. You see, yeah, and believe me, patients, would have had YouTube figured out if that was still going on. But they'd say, oh, what about that patient safe, out in the, in the Lakelands or whatever. And they say, oh, yeah. What's the name of that? Let's take a trip out there. And there's another thing their website featured, make it a weekend, a safe weekend, if you will. Whether it was couples or families, they would have recommendations, places to stay, other businesses, coupons even. But even that, so every year patients was looking for ideas, strong people to lift safes, juggling safes, different stuff like that. But one year they say this mysterious person came to town and she said, you called me into town and they said, I'm the mysterious person. And patient said, I'm glad you're here. Are you ready to do your thing? And they said, yes. I'm going to sit out there in the town square, something called the Approachable safe. Have you been working on it? Do you have the safe that meets my specifications? And patient said, yeah, I do. And they said, good. Then, the patient said, I still don't understand what the idea is, though. You had me build this safe, and you're going to put it in the town square, and you're going to call it the Approachable safe. And you're going to put up signs, And then what? And the mysterious person said, just wait, patience, be patient, patience, and you will see. But Patience was willing to try. These outside of the box ideas rarely make sense. So stay tuned. And, worked out everything with the town. And then they said they had a big unveiling. They had it covered in cloaks or whatever, mysterious draperies. And they hired, the school choirs and the school bands to play. And they had a little midway and food and jugglers and stuff. Vendors, just a fun day. And then they said, and now, Patience said, this is the reflected on the year of the town. And, the politicians spoke. And then the person of mystery said, and now I present the approachable safe. And they pulled off a thing, and there sitting on a pedestal was a safe. And you'd say it was like is it a green? Is that a deep green color? And it was one of those ones that looks very heavy. About the size, a bit bigger than one of those refrigerators that hotels or dorms have. One knob on there, whatever that thing is called. Again, I'm not in the safe business. That you spin around, combination spinner thing. And a handle that looked like if you pulled it down, that would open the door, wood. The safe itself was hard to tell how old it was. It was a deep, deep color. It didn't have any chips or dents on it or scrapes. And then there was all these signs. This is the approach. Do you dare approach the approachable safe? Who will approach it? And everybody thought it was funny for about 4 days. Even though the mysterious person was changing the signs out, people would walk up to the safe. At first, kids did it, and then finally someone touched it. That took 45 minutes before the first person touched it. And it happened to be an 8-year-old girl. Meanwhile, there was all these high school lads watching, and then they were willing to spin the knob and stuff, but nothing happened. And then it became for a brief time, it already had worked, because this just happened to be the start of tourist season. And people would come and they'd take selfies with it, because then it became a thing approachable safe, like a hashtag or something. And they said, go ahead and hug it. Do you dare approach it? Do you dare embrace it? Who will kiss the approachable safe? And it even had, things for keeping it hygienic and all that. And the safe stayed there, and it rained, and it was sunny. And a mysterious person, they got paid and they left town, which Patience did think was strange. But this Patience was like, well, that was, I guess it kind of worked because it it didn't go totally viral, but it's more popular than the other selfie spots. And people then Patience was like, let's have sign competitions. And then they started telling, Patience even had some, worked with the local libraries and then some of the local papers to have fiction, approachable safe fan fiction category. So people were writing all these stories. And that was really fun, and then Patience would judge them and say, oh, wow, this one was great. This one where the safe became your best friend, or this one where the safe helped, even though we can't open the safe, that, in your story, it held an engagement ring, or, this special recipe, or just held a simple note that said, love one another. Those were some of Patience's favorite ones. But then the time wore on, and it just got less and less popular. Tourism, it became the fall or the autumn. And some of the people in the town were like, yo, patience, like, what's up with that safe? You going to just leave it out there? Like, isn't it, it's getting kind of old, you know? And Patience pointed out that, you know, I have contractually, I'm able to keep it up there till the 1st of January. So, and also I had I also had a contract with this mysterious person, LLC, or, whatever business this to keep it up. There was a contract, I already paid them. So I don't know, but there might be something still in store. And they said, okay. But then another month went by and they said, people have opinions, especially with the internet and the ability. And they said, but man, it's safe. I used to go out there with my picnic, but I got a safe sitting there. And it reminds me of stuff, or I don't like it. It's on my nerves. Got to get rid of it, Patience. And Patience said, well, I don't want to be a quibbler, but I don't know. I just can't just get rid of it. One, two, I'm kind of, I feel like I'm obligated to keep it up. And I feel like, and then it became like a thing just because some people just got a little bit bent about it. And they said, no, we don't care what your obligations are, what the town said. There's a new town council now anyway. And they're revoking the permit that they already gave you. And Patience said, well, that's not really my style, like, because, that's just symbolic. You can't really do that anyway. And Patience said, I'll tell you what, we're getting, there's some intense feelings here about the safe. I think we've got ourselves a bit of a mystery, like the case of the approachable safe. And maybe we could get Lady Marple to come and figure this out for everybody. And so they said, you think you can get Lady Marple to come? Like, can you get her to come on a weekend? Because then we could have people she's a lady, that would be great and beloved. I know she says she's not that same Marple and has nothing to do with that Marple, but no one believes her anyway. And she's done great stuff. She's solved mysteries. Wow. Okay, Patience, forget everything we said. And they said, actually, could you do it on this bank holiday weekend? Because we could call it the Upper Midland Mystery Days. And Patience said, yeah, believe it or not, I took care of some we have a working relationship, so I'll double check. But Patience was able to get Lady Marple to come out and did explain that, it's a bit of a public thing. Because and Lady Marple said, I'd be happy to do it. Sounds curious to me. And so Lady Marple came out, and the town again made a big deal about it. It got even more press. Lady Marple to come and approach, approachable safe. News at 5. We can't. This is great. And it again kind of raised awareness of not only safes in general, but of safes, the Patience's place, and Patience used it to kind of raise money for some of the town charities that they were involved in. And Lady Marple was more than willing to do that. And then the town kind of gathered and then said, okay, well, when's Lady Marple going to inspect the case? And Lady Marple said, this could be like a little performative. I understand it. Set me up a chair. If you get a gumball machine, that would be great. If not, I'm not going to bring my personal gumball machine, but, and maybe we'll do an interview or something, a little bit like a chat, not related to the gumball machine. I mean, not related to the safe. And then I'll talk about my thoughts about this safe. And people could watch me inspect the safe and all that and approach it. And so that day came, and then they did everything. They got everything set up. And the Lady Marple walked around the safe, looked at it curiously. He took some notes even, measured it for fun, got under it, ran around it, skipped around it, hit it with a rubber hammer, hit it with like a tin like a mining hammer, listened to it with stethoscope, sprayed it with air, bunch of stuff. Did a lot of stuff that kid chewed gum, walked around it, hugged it, took a selfie with it, and then sat down for the interview. And first they did like a general, kind of a puff piece, but also like curious about Lady Marple. And again, she said, yeah, I'm not that Marple. And they said, well, what do you think about safe? She goes, well, I just want to, I want you to think about some things before I tell you the conclusion, because it's going to be somewhat dissatisfactory. That's kind of the thing about this. But she goes, the goal was, right, she goes, the thing about safes is that they don't feel approachable. She goes, it's sitting there in the sun, but it still feels cold. But it didn't feel cold when people were dancing around it. And then she said, do you see what I mean? Like, it was just by calling it the approachable. She goes, that was one of the tricks, was by calling it the approachable safe and daring people to approach it. It made it approachable. And she goes, but as soon as that wore off, it again became this kind of thing that's not really ominous, but like safes, you don't really think about them, right? And they said, okay. And they said, so was this some sort of marketing stunt? And she goes, well, this patient's safe has a history of doing marketing stunts every single year, if I'm correct, multiple times if you count the community events. And they said, you're right. And they said, yeah. They said, oh, so is it Patience? It was a mysterious person. And Lady Marple said, not quite. It had to be someone who wanted to, like, maybe that started a business with the intention of slowly raising enough money to fund an art installation at the Tate Modern, or if she couldn't get the Tate Modern, or she couldn't get the idea, it'll be like, well, I could put this much down. What other super rich person is going to fund this? Maybe the Queen will hear about it. Maybe she would do something and get coverage for her new business. Where she solves cases, and they said, so you're using this as a market, this is a marketing opportunity of your marketing opportunities. And Lady Marple said, yeah, eyeballs equal gumballs. And she said, by the way, if anybody's watching, picture this, a giant gumball machine in front of the Tate Modern. And they said, and then she said, 1 second, please. Everybody got kind of irritable, because she says, how many people have tried to open the safe? Raise your hand. And she said, how many people actually know the silly rules behind opening some of these locks? And a few kids that had opened lockers or so said, the stupid, you got to go skip by it, left, skip by it or whatever. And she said, yeah, that's ridiculous, too. And then she said, is anybody and then there was people from the cryptography clubs and stuff who had actually tried to get the combination. And, they had tried latitudes and longitudes and break in the case of the approachable safe and a bunch of different stuff. And then she kind of giggled, and she said, they said, was it public knowledge? And she said, kind of. You could have found it out, but it would have been hard. So I don't blame any of you. And she goes, because it's Patience's birthday. And so then they said, Patience, what's your birthday? They said, and then she picked one of the kids that raised their hand. She said, come on up and open this safe for all of us. And she came and opened it, and she said, oh, there's like some papers in there. And she said, oh, that's interesting. Why don't you approach the papers and take them out and bring them to the, because by now, like some of the town council was like pish-poshing. And then Lady Marpbels said, I'll read these. And it was like a future plan from Patience, who said, in the future, I'm not going to be in the safe business forever, but hopefully I'll be in it for a while longer. We also own these two, I own the shop and the building the shop's in, which houses another shop, which brings in all this rent, and it has this much value. And, I have the business, and this is what I would like to do when I go, to crack the big safe in the sky, is to give all this to the townspeople, but in this very deliberate way. And on top of that, because I think of this hype, we're auctioning this off in the next 10 minutes online. That's Lady Marpbels' idea. Lady Marpbels said, reading from the notes or from Patience, and that money's going to go to establish this fund to create apprentice and what do you call that? To pay for the education of kids anywhere in that region or beyond, full scholarship with housing and food and everything. That people that say, I might want to be in the safe business, and that forever safes will be a place of and they said Lady Marpbels did it, and the calculations are we can run this thing for 90 years, and then everything else will go to the town, these things in the town, but this will be a working teaching business where we'll make safes approachable to the next few generations of safe smiths or locksmiths. But then of course, because she was also a show person, Lady Marpbels did was say, okay, open the safe door the whole way. And they had like a false back in there, like that looked like it was, you could see into the whole safe, but you really couldn't. And what you couldn't see, people had seen it before, but they thought it was just for rainwater. And someone before the presentation had cleaned it out. In the stand that the safe was on was like a channel running down each side, running down the front of it off of a lip, which people said, oh, it's a brilliant way to keep water from pooling around the safe. But she said, children, gather around there, get in line and gather around and put your hands under that, like it looks like a little nozzle spout. And she pulled the back off, and then there was a slow release machine she had in the back of the safe releasing gumballs. And that was how the case of the approachable safe turned out pretty well for everybody, except for people who got, they said, I don't know, like how that turned out. And then everybody lied down because it was a beautiful day, chewing gum. Listen to the sound of an entire community chewing gum, laying in the grass of the town green. Some people dreaming of the Tate Modern, some people dreaming of becoming a locksmith or a safe smith or the crack in the big safe in the sky, or just dreaming up wacky ideas to keep things interesting, where they, to focus the attention on stuff. You say, oh, I needed a refresh there. Good night. I don't want to thank everybody that reviewed the show on Apple Podcasts recently. 75,570. 5 Z's, and then a lot more. Oh, hi, I was listening to Sleep With Me and fell asleep. Whoops, I did it again. And then 5 smiley faces. Let's see what else we got here. 9 years old gray fox says, I'm a kid, so my mom was listening, and I wanted to try it. It's amazing. I love it so much. I have trouble sleeping, and sometimes this helps. Been loving it so much from the first time. My mom said it was going to keep me awake, but, I listened again, and I loved it. Thank you so much for my sleep scooter. I do not know how it works, but it does work. All right, I want to thank our newest ambassadors that joined our referral program over at sleepwithmepodcast.com/refer. And some of them are already getting referrals. Katie, I want to thank Mika, already got a referral. Victoria, Marigold has already got 2. Logan, Nadia, Tracy, 2 Tracys in a row. G, Katie's already got 3 referrals. Heather, Kathy, Kara, Eden already has a referral. Debbie has 3 referrals. Karen, thanks, and good night. Sophia has a referral. Kelsey, Debbie, Sophie, Loretta, 4 referrals. Andy and Ashley, Caroline has a referral. You wouldn't believe what a huge help this is. What else we got here? Katiana, Greg, Claire, Val, Sarah, Louisa. Lisa has a referral. Amy, Anna, 1 referral. Nadra, Amy, Eleanor, Miranda, Rebecca, Ava, Hazel. Alice has got a referral. Susie, Eula, Mary Lou, Eden, Allison, Denise, Tanya's got 9 referrals, and then Paige. So thank you all for spreading the word about the show or signing up to spread the word, and you'll be future spreading the word. Thank you. By the time you hear this, you'll probably have hundreds of referrals. So thanks, everybody. Sleeping With Me exists a free podcast because people take action through the referral program, through our sponsors, and through our Patreon. That's how we stay free and grow as a show. So I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the support. Good night. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Air Doctor. And it's the wintertime. We're going to be spending a lot of time indoors. Don't you want the air you're breathing, that your family is breathing all day long? Don't you want the best quality air possible? Whether it's stuff coming in from the outside or Koa, she's scratching her fur, her dander, cooking, whatever's coming in through the heater vent. That's why I have the Air Doctor running 24/7. It brings me peace of mind. You got to check out Air Doctor. You breathe 20,000 breaths per day, and Air Doctor filters out dangerous contaminants so your lungs don't have to. Air Doctor uses an ultra HEPA filter that's been independently tested to remove 99.99% of tested bacteria and viruses, plus allergens like pollen, dust, and smoke. And in a recent independent study, the Air Doctor 3000 series was even tested and proven to remove 99.97% of live SARS-CoV-2 virus in a test chamber. And while no air purifier can prevent the transmission of COVID, it provides me and my family with added peace of mind knowing it's backed by science and rigorous third-party testing. The Air Doctor captures particles as small as 0.003 microns in size. That's 100 times smaller than the HEPA standard. It captures a wide range of pollutants, including odors, gases, and chemicals like formaldehyde. From stinky gym clothes to chemical cleaning products, Air Doctor is always on call to keep your air fresh and clean. And it's powerful. It's powerful enough to circulate the air in a 630-plus square foot room 4 times an hour. I love my Air Doctor. It lets me breathe through my nose. It lets me breathe easy. I know I wake up feeling more refreshed than my daughter does, or whether I'm working from home or she's studying at home. Especially during the winter season, it's offering us an extra layer of protection. A professional quality HEPA air purifier is recommended by leading medical experts as an effective way to reduce airborne germs and viruses and protect your home. Make sure to get an Air Doctor to keep you and your family safe this winter. Air Doctor comes with a no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't love it, just send it back for a refund minus shipping. And just go to airdoctorpro.com and use the promo code SLEEP, and you'll receive a 35% discount on their classic Air Doctor 3000 purifier. That's right, 35% off, but only if you go to airdoctorpro.com and use that promo code SLEEP. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, you know by listening to the show that I've been loving my Helix mattress over the past few years, and Helix has left the bedroom. They've started making sofas. They've launched a new company called Allform, and they're already making the best sofas we've ever seen. So what makes an Allform sofa really cool? Well, for starters, it's the easiest way you can customize a sofa using premium materials at a fraction of the cost of traditional stores. You get to pick your fabric. It's spill, stain, and scratch resistant. You get to pick the sofa color, the color of the legs, the sofa size and shape to make sure it's perfect for you and your home. They've got armchairs and love seats all the way up to an 8-seat sectional, so there's always something for everyone. And the thing is, you could always start small and buy more seats later on, and that way your Allform sofa can grow and change with you when you move. Allform sofas are also delivered directly to your home with fast, free shipping. You know, in the past, if you wanted to order a sofa, it could take weeks or months to arrive, and you would need someone to come and assemble it in your home. Well, Allform takes just 3 to 7 days to arrive in the mail, and you could assemble it yourself in a few minutes, no tools needed. Now, I have this beautiful Allform. I have a chase lounge. I have it in a modular, and I have it in a nice corner L-shape layout. I even added a middle seat afterwards. But I love being able to pick out the size and the shape and then measure and be like, okay, what's going to fit in my home? It's so easy to put together. I even put a video up on sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. It has everything. It's so comfortable. It is really the hub of our home. And if getting a sofa without trying in a store sounds a little risky, you don't got to worry. You get 100 days to just decide if you want to keep it. That's more than 3 months. And if you don't love it, they'll pick it up for free and give you a full refund. They even offer a forever warranty, literally forever. To find your perfect sofa, check out allform.com/sleep. That's allform.com/sleep. And get this, Allform is offering 20% off all orders for our listeners at allform.com/sleep. That's 20% off for all orders for our listeners at allform.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody, and good night. Hey, everybody, as I tuck in here, I just want to let you know the most comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me. 3 different models to choose from are sleep phones, soft speakers inside a soft, stretchy headband, nothing poking in your ear, nothing hard. You could get wireless version, Bluetooth version, and we have a bunch of different Sleep With Me branded versions at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones. And make sure to use our coupon code to save $5 at Sleep With Me. Go over to sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep phones and you sleep with me. Thanks.